Good morning.
Oh,
Well, it's afternoon for you, isn't it?
yeah.
Morning.
Hi, Josh.
Morning, Kate. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
It's been a week. Like it's Tuesday, and this week has been at least a month long. So
Oh, dear. One of those ones, huh?
it's all right. I go on spring break on Thursday, and I'm telling everyone I work with, like, I'm leaving my computer behind. Like, I don't even care. It's too bad.
I think we all, yeah, we're seeing hands up in celebration here.
Yep, I've run out of fucks to give. So
Okay.
Cheers, everyone.
oh, those are flowers behind you, Alan. I was like, why is it snowing behind Alan? Like,
I really hate how Zoom handles virtual background for me. Wanted to share a little, DC cherry blossom fun.
oh, and the Washington Monument's behind your head. That's cool.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
Apparently, traffic was so bad on Sunday that it didn't just shut down all of downtown DC, but people were literally just parking on the side of the freeway and like walking over to look at the view.
Mm.
For the Cherry Blossom Festival, Alan, that happened?
Yeah.
The festival. Yikes.
All right, it's 5 after. Let's get cracking. Kate's got a pretty juicy topic for us. I think it'll take a while. So to start, I'm going to ask everyone to paste an intro in the chat, which I will start with. Just something simple. That way we don't have to go through like 30 minutes of intros. Other than that, then I will share my screen and we'll get cracking on this agenda. Share screen, share. All right, so we've got a couple of tools topics on here first, and then we'll go from there. We have S2 C2F, and I forget who put this on here. Are they here?
That's me. Hello.
Great.
Mhm.
Who's me?
Adrian.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is
I
Adrian
can't
DeLeo.
see with when I
Sorry.
share the screen. I lose all my view of who. Okay, there we go. I got that.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, Andrew.
This is Adrian Diglio. I'm from Microsoft. I contributed the secure software supply chain consumption framework, and in that we have requirements on how to securely consume open source into the developer's workflow. And some of the requirements that we are advocating for are tools that help you patch your open source faster. These are tools that do auto patching, such as Dependabot, or it submits an auto-generated pull request, and if you accept it, then it patches your open source for you. Another type of tool is surfacing OSS vulnerabilities as comments in a pull request, such as dependency review within GitHub. I think that those are an entire category of tools that are designed to make keeping your OSS hygiene better, easier, and help you patch faster. And I would love to see that category added to the guide to security tools.
I thought at least Dependabots like tools are already there, but we should look. But I certainly agree that they should be on that list.
You know who owns that list, David? I actually don't even know.
It's this working group.
Well, I mean, who the person has been working on it?
Group effort, but I was one of them.
Okay.
So let me see here. But I gotta go find. Oops. Yeah, you're doing the same thing I am, which is basically gotta find the URL there. OpenSSF. Well, OpenSSF tools list should hopefully. Yeah, working group security tooling. I mean, it's right under our working group. Yeah, guide to security tools, right there. Okay, I'll post the link.
I mean, I'd say, Adrian, the easiest way is just submit a pull request. Although, did you? I haven't actually looked in a long time.
No, I submitted an issue to track it, but I can do that. I'll submit a pull request.
Yeah, feel
that
free.
one.
Just
Yeah,
do me a favor. If you ping me on Slack, I'll be more apt to notice it.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
And if I may, I would suggest make at least 2 pull requests, separate the 2 different ones, because I think for like Dependabot, I'm pretty sure we already have that category. It may not, but the other one maybe not. So I would make them as 2 different ones, because it's easier just accept one and not another, or make some changes. We want to accept immediately as many as we can.
Great.
I mean, your
Okay.
hand was up.
I'll-
Do you have a comment? Sorry. Am I muted?
Nope, I hear you.
Okay, good. Sorry. Alan, you had your hand up. Do you have a question? Or
If we wanted to get into the types of tools that Adrian was talking about, I was sort of vaguely curious whether those tools were starting to get a little smarter. But if that's out of scope for our discussion, or we want to sort of have that more awareness, then I don't want to commandeer things.
Yeah, the list he's referring to is a list of categories.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
if a particular tool gets better, but it's still within that category, that's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Great.
Improvement's good. If there's a whole new kind of tool, then, then let's add it.
The topic of tools as well, Alan, one of the things this group is looking to do is create specifically focused on SBOMs, but a landscape like the CNCF has to better track and categorize like all the tooling And I think if we figure it out for SBOMs, we could even think about doing it for more broad security tooling in general. Because I think there's a lot of value in it. And there's like 700 lists of tools and I can't track anything anymore. But that's a different conversation. Cool. Any other comments, Adrian, before we move on?
Nope, that's it. I'll submit a PR and then I'll ping you
Awesome.
on Slack.
Yeah, thanks, man. This is cool work. I mean, thank you for doing it as well. I know this goes thankless a lot of times, but this is really cool. Matt, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Hello,
Awesome.
sir. You have the next topic.
Yes, so I see David here. So if I knew he was presenting, but I volunteered to Crobe to go out and spread the word, which is to share the yes, thank you for grabbing the link.
Oh, man, a lot of stuff.
So
All right.
basically every SIG is being asked to confirm the entries under their work. Yeah. Confirm the entries credited to their working group. So before it gets published in any way, shape, or form, that it has accuracy. So the only question I had here was that I think that Crobe just said that, and I don't know who did it, but grabbed all of the work products from the README and put them on there and assigned SIG at the end of them. So I know a lot of these didn't have SIGs or were SIGs or maybe pseudo SIGs at some point in time. So I was hoping to figure out which things are projects and which things were SIGs from my perspective.
Kate, is SBOM everywhere a SIG? Do you know?
It's a SIG.
It is,
It's a
okay.
SIG.
And
SIG under the tool work group. That's how to think about it.
And fuzzing is a SIG, as I know as well. They're
Yes.
independent meetings, but I know a lot of other things I've been around while they were projects and they're created by people in the work group proper, but they never had a SIG at any time.
Yeah, none of the other stuff is SIGs, just the two. And are you tracking? Yeah, you're tracking projects, right?
Yeah, projects.
Yeah, they're just projects. They're not.
So I'm not current with the definitions. I'm staring at David's face to see if he wants to comment. But
I can comment. Yeah, there was a name change along the way. Basically, the TAC earlier, I guess it was actually last year, basically said, hey, we want to be consistent. So if it's mostly code, call it a project. Otherwise, call it a SIG. And that was a change because a lot of people referred to these other things as projects. So you'll see some inconsistency out there in the wild, but that's what we're trying to maneuver towards.
yeah, I'm just looking at the other work groups that I know I attend on occasion, and I see still projects I think that they have, things that are projects. The question is, I know in the Diagram Society, I produced a different mind map that had, non-code projects. So the question is, do we, to me, the thing is, if I see a SIG, that means there's a meeting I can attend on the calendar.
No, SIG just means it's not primarily code. That's all it means.
Yeah, I'm just worried. I just want to make sure this work group understood the ramifications of the terminology here, that they would, we need to understand that people come to say, hey, I want to attend the SIG, and where's that? We need to have it in the agenda someplace,
Yeah, no, that's not what it means. So you may be disappointed.
But I think that Crobe's intention also is to get the work groups to go back to the READMEs and clarify that, and he says that if the SIGs are closed, that they are noted on the README as being, completed SIGs.
Oh, right. Yeah, absolutely.
Right, and that's fair. I need to go clean up that README.
So I saw suppression was kind of spelled wrong as well. So
Did we spell it wrong in the?
Well, if we did, there is a solution.
No, it's spelled right here.
yeah, I think it was a copy paste.
Okay.
Random finger hitting.
It looks misspelled in the link underneath.
In the
Yeah.
link underneath.
Oh no, that was just me being crazy. Never mind. It looks good to me.
Yeah, but
Right.
yeah, so I would have made that correction, but David, I think you own the master, I think, so.
No, well, I mean, I am happy. I think I technically do, but happy to, ask for right access. Off we go. The point is, in fact, I don't think. Yeah. So, yeah, but the point is to try to put in one place hey, if you ever want to present about the OpenSSF, here's a deck to start with.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think, and I think that again, I don't know, Josh, if you're going to redo the README or if you want someone else to do it, maybe just reorganize it to say that these are, SIGs that have, finalized their work in some way or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be a while before I get to it, and I doubt I could sucker anyone else into it. So.
Well, I mean, if you have an idea of how to I don't want to step on any organization plans you might have, but I could make an attempt at that and submit a PO.
I have literally no plans yet.
Okay.
So if you have a suggestion, I would gladly accept it.
I was thinking about like just organizing it in like, current SIGs and past SIGs and
Sure.
and yeah, so cool.
Cool.
I will
Awesome.
do that.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
David, I assume you'll fix the typo.
I don't know where the typo is. So
Right here.
Stop Russian.
Or we could just make that a new thing. I mean, that's also an
Yeah, we're very big in defining new terms in OpenSSF.
Right.
So
probably we can trademark that. It's fine.
Oh no, please.
All right.
No.
Well, that's fine. All right. All right. Cool. All right. Are we good there, Matt, or anything else?
no, that's all. Thanks.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to move ourselves into SBOM everywhere then to discuss that a bit. We did that in the chat. I'll start with the action plan that Dan was so kind to put into GitHub. So thank you for that, Dan. I would say at this point, if anyone has any comments or suggestions, we should add pull requests and issues. It's just in the SBOM everywhere repo. Do you have anything to add, Dan? Any comments?
No, other than to say it was Sarah and I, our joint, we had a number of joint calls.
Yeah,
on this,
right,
so-
that's true.
And yeah, so it's mostly Sarah's work, and I just did the.
You get the credit because your name's on the pull request. Oh, it happens. No, this is great though. I want to thank you both for all the work you did. I know you carried almost all the water here, and that's fantastic. And this is a great document. I'm really happy with it. So good. Now, the second thing. Oh, I didn't add the second thing. All right, I'm going to add the second thing, which is the SBOM landscape. So there's a link to a funding proposal Kate and I wrote, and I'm hopeful we don't need it anymore. So Kate is talking with Tracy Miranda, who has some landscape knowledge. And if she's willing to help us stand one up, I think we can probably get it filled out in a fraction of the time it would take just to get the approval of funding. So I guess stay tuned is all I can say for that. But I'm very excited. I'm very, very hopeful that Tracy can lend a hand here. And we can, is Tracy here? I don't think Tracy's here.
Hey, Brian. Brian's got his hand up.
Brian.
Yeah,
Brian.
wanted to note that I think for that Tracy's using it with SigStore for like a lot of the different parts of SigStore's landscapes, but it seems to be using a combined OpenSSF landscape from which we're also drawing like our members and when we render them on the OpenSSF website and the like. And I want to figure out a more scalable approach because I think that is conflating a lot of different use cases in one underlying system. But at the same time, I think that could also provide a substrate for doing lots of landscapes for OpenSSF projects. So if anyone understands the landscape tool well enough to do a little bit of surgery with us or figure out how to set up some automation, I think we could get something up pretty quickly, not have to wait for funding or too much planning, and in a way that allows for folks to play with it safely and not. Yeah, so open to that if anyone wants to volunteer and help.
And that's my hope with working with Tracy is if she can at least push me down the hill, I'm going to like document the crap out of everything I can because I've tried to get the landscape running in the past and I gave up because it was just too nitpicky. So
yes, and we need to figure out a way to do it more scalably than SigStore is doing it now because we're conflating too many things in one system.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
as you're learning that, come back and check in, and let's figure out if there's a way that we can address my concerns about that.
Yeah, Brian, I've been working with Tracy up to this at this point, and we're looking at trying to just keep it within a certain specific scope, which is, I think, addressing the scalability issue you want, not to conflate things. So we'll see how it emerges. But she's prototyping right now.
And for what it's worth, Brian, I will not put what we're trying to do into the existing OpenSSF landscape, because we will like pollute it with crap, and I totally don't want to do that.
It's not crap. It's if anyone loves it, but it's fine. I just want to figure out a way to support everybody.
And Josh, I can help with that, because there are a lot of other attempts to do this in the past. And use cases gets messy and complicated, and can either expand to the overlap of all of supply chain and all of software assurance, or can be much targeted. So I'm happy to tackle that if you wanted to find some time to.
Absolutely, Alan. You were on my short list of people to hassle once we had a landscape. And the intent is it will be a public GitHub repo, so literally anyone can update it. So my hope is, just given the popularity of SBOMs, once we start getting momentum there, we'll get a lot. Because I think every organization and every project will want to make sure they're on the list.
But I think that also is a bug as well as a feature. Because different, if we don't provide a little structure, then we're going to get a giant paragraph about why my SBOM startup is
so we've got, so basically, Alan, I think we're taking it from the template view we started in NTIA, and we're also going to layer in the types of SBOMs into it as well. And then people will hopefully put pull requests in to put in their tool, and people can query it and say, okay, show me that you actually have evidence that you're doing what you can say you do. And it's documented in the pull request, but what's actually put up in the landscape is much simpler.
And by definition, Alan, landscapes are very simple, and you just can't put like pages of crap in them. So I think that's one of the features, is the simplicity.
I work for the US government. We can put crap in anything.
All right.
Okay. Anyway, we'll report back on this hopefully at the next meeting and have something to show for it. So I'm very hopeful. All right.
Before we go, I'm going to post in the chat a link to the CNCF landscape, because that I think gives an idea of what these kinds of things look like.
Yeah, it's really cool, and that one's gigantic.
Yeah, I think we need simpler ones to get people's minds around. Just think of the various categories that we're trying to work from.
Yeah,
that's another discussion. Let's see if we can get straw man up to get people talking about it.
I can't wait for that bike shed, Kate. It's going to be great.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Right. At the end of the day, we'll just blame Kate for whatever decisions we make, and then everyone can complain to her. It'll be great. But anyway. All right. So with the time remaining, the thing I've been waiting to get to is Kate has put together well, I guess you had a lot of help, right, on this use cases.
Yeah. So actually, can I take over?
Please. I would be very happy for that. Yes.
Okay, let's just do that this way.
And I will just let you take it from here. It's your meeting for the rest of the time.
So one of the things that we're finding to be rather useful to explain things to people, especially as we go between build types, is basically doing some degree of diagramming and saying, okay, this build SBOM was generated from this source SBOM, which has all these source files in. So having visual images, we're finding is helpful for people to get the case. And so we've been talking to a large extent about the different parts in time in the software lifecycle where there's two pieces of evidence available. And over the last, we started here, but then we have finished it up, and I'm hoping any day now, and I'm sure that's trademarked by Alan, we'll have the SBOM types published out of CISA that we can start to align with. And so one of the views is obviously from the tooling perspective, being explicit as to which types of SBOMs tools are working with will help with us understanding the landscape and flow. But it's also going to be useful, I think, for our use cases to start to understand what types of use cases are pulling on what types of SBOM types. So I think there's general intuitive agreement, anyhow, that where the facts are in the software lifecycle is the best place to generate the SBOM for that type. So as things are built, test, and released, you generate your build SBOMs. As things are put onto people's systems, you're generating your deployed SBOMs. As people are monitoring things over time, they may refer back to your deployed SBOMs, or they may refer to your build SBOMs, but you've got the information there at this point in time. So the question then becomes is, when we start to look at things like use cases, can we basically say, hey, this is what I'm trying to put together, and I'm applying a patch to a package to fix it over. Well, what does that actually look like in terms of types of SBOMs and in types of information in a sort of a decision tree? So we've got this type of, we can sort of create a pseudocode of what's actually happening in a use case. And, but how can we maybe look at starting to diagram it? So I met with Peter Lohr from Red Hat, and he and I started sort of noodling on this topic a bit, and starting to come up with some symbols that we could start to use to potentially look at diagramming these things. Again, thinking back to people understand diagrams in comics, so you can maybe think of the SBOM comics associated with each use case as a way of trying to explain to people how these things interact between organizations and between types of SBOM. So this is a first attempt at it. I suspect seriously we'll be refining it a lot more as people come up with better ideas. It was initially just colors and shapes, and the shapes are nothing special other than what's available easily in Google Docs, because that's what I have easy access to. But someone who is colorblind pointed out to me that we really should put something in as a symbol to distinguish things. And so we've got a couple of symbols added in and things like that. And so the thinking was, we started working in this group on a use case, SBOM use cases for security document last summer, and starting to articulate what these use cases are, and then it's been on the shelf for a bit. But I'm kind of thinking that if people are interested, what might make sense is to take the security use cases and refine them and effectively come together with a comic of diagram comic of how we can actually say these types of SBOMs, this type of data is flowing through to satisfy each of these use cases. What I was wondering is this idea interesting to people? And do they see merit? And if so, are the people that are willing to help volunteer with me to start tackling these use cases? This is a couple I want to tackle, but
okay,
start to get that. Okay.
Can I ask a clarifying question, Kate? You're looking for us to flesh out just the use cases, or to flesh out the use cases and build your diagrams?
I think flesh out the use cases first, and then we build the diagrams after them.
Okay.
Okay.
Use case first.
So I think, go through, see if these use cases are ones that you care about, would be the ask of everyone on the group. If you see things missing in this, just go into the document and add the use cases. We'll do a scrub of these use cases and remove all the commentary from people and get a clear set. And then decide which ones we're going to prioritize, and then start working on the diagrams. But I think that'll help convey information in a way that people, obviously my computer's slow, we'll sort of get through again some of the FUD aspects. And I'm not seeing the use case stuff being sort of worked on right now on the CISA side. So this gives us an area to focus on here that's independent of the quality stuff that CISA is focusing on right now in the tooling group there.
I think this is a good idea. Does anyone else have any comments?
Does anyone hate it?
Don't hate it. I'm not sure that some of these are use cases per se. Like producer of software seems like a role, not a use case. But maybe we can nitpick on that. But identifying how things used definitely seems like a right step. I do worry about the cartooning effort, in part because my guess is that you're going to use whatever data you have available, and in many cases you're going to be constrained by the data availability, not what the ideal is. mean, that that doesn't make it wrong though.
No,
no
it's
matter
more
what.
it's more along the lines of having a diagram sometimes makes people understand the concept. We found that very effective in framing to show things were dependent on various other projects, and that diagram got used a lot. And so the idea is, okay, you're the same way we've got, this is, creating a build time SBOM. I've been using this diagram for about a year now in the AI side, how to show that things are related, and this depends on various libraries, but also this generated from things. And so each of these types of SBOMs potentially can be linking back to other types, to earlier types in the software lifecycle as part of their evidence. They don't need to carry the whole weight all the way through themselves. Like the deployed one might link back to a build, but you've got a deployed one and you've got a vulnerability. Okay, how do you deal with looking up that vulnerability? Well, you might want to look back and see the build and see what the dependencies are in your build. And hey, there's a package. Oh, well, maybe I care about whether or not that file was built into my image, so I may even go back and double check with some of the sources. You only have to go back as far as you need to go back to rule things out. And so that's kind of where I'm thinking. But showing these sort of scenarios and types, yeah. Go for it, Alan. Sorry.
Kate, I like this because I think this is a big missing piece in our conception of SBOM types, is how they relate to each other, and what's right. I have a source SBOM. I still have my use cases. Is it insufficient? Right. We haven't effectively communicated that. The other thing that, as we sort of pile on yes and especially graphically, is other sources of data, right? Obviously, vuln databases, license data, other things that I care about, LF badges, things like that. And then the other piece here that I think will be useful is the other types of tools, right? So, okay, I'm going to need to sort of dump this into a service. This is my asset management. This is, hey, there is no asset management for this corner of the ecosystem, right? What does that even mean? And so sort of identifying gaps as well. So, I look at this. I will say, personally, this symbol vocabulary seems like all of the nice things about a very complex regression equation with none of the benefits of being legible to those of us who speak math, right? Right. You've all seen the equation slides, and you have to sort of sit and memorize what each variable means. But we're good at that because we've been reading math papers for a long time. New symbolic references seem like a very hard thing to do that mental mapping as we draw the picture. So if there's anything we can do to either have catchier little cartoons, and again, I'm
like I said, if we can find a graphic artist to help us improve them, I just took a starting point. I'm not wedded to them. For instance, IBM has done a lot of work on their symbology, and so they're using this for code. They use a one with 4 dots, 4 circles for data, and and sort of like train models and things like that. And so I was sort of trying to data files or dolls, and then using this source, and then I used a little hat for upstream just to give a subtle clue as to what might be useful in terms of like evidence. It's just like I say, this is a starting point. I'm not wedded to it, and I'd love to.
And yes, it was just the way my mind works. I immediately thought of like equations on slides. I'm like, oh, those are tricky to digest, especially if we're thinking about this is going to be slideware as opposed to reports.
Well, I'm thinking this is.
I don't have a better solution, but
this type of like you've got a line around what's actually inside the contents of it, and then you're showing relationships pictorially as needed. This type of thing people seem to get it when I showed this up, and that's what was sort of the motivator to sort of aim in this type of direction for explaining to people what has to happen. I think the security use cases, if we restrict the scope to be security, things that we most, so basically prioritizing the use cases people care about most, and making sure we have a clear set of use cases, and then we start to basically make it visible. I think that'll move us forward in a reasonably constructive fashion. or at least I hope it will. But this way, you know, when people have their use cases in various places, you know, we can say that these are the security use cases, and we can be reasonably authoritative about it because we've had enough groupthink on it. Go ahead, Matt.
I would expand, say, security compliance. The majority of customers I talk to, they're concerned with going forward proof of compliance and the evidence of compliance in the SBOM, or attached to or pointed to by the SBOM.
Okay.
And compliance, I think that it might serve us well to have subcategories of compliance for different interests, because I know things like machine learning, compliance of creation of data models according to ethics, for example, cryptographic cipher inclusion, you know, due diligence and things like that.
Yeah. So, you know, by all means, I guess go into this document and at the bottom of it, put a proposal of how you think that maybe you want to structure it. And then maybe next time we get together, we can actually have a look at it and see if we can agree on the framework as a group. Go ahead, Sarah.
In the proposal that Dan and I put together, we actually had a link to the concept of a user needs document. And we've been talking a little bit about how you would articulate what an end user is looking to get out of an SBOM in combination with other tooling to solve problems and reduce risk. Dan and I were chatting a little bit together, and we think that this document is a lot more fleshed out than the link to our empty Google Doc that says we need to put some user needs in here. So we think there's really good alignment to taking and relinking to this document in our proposal to continue to flesh this out from a user needs perspective. And Dan, do you have any color that you'd like to add on a user need versus a use case? You do a really good job of describing it.
Yeah, well, it's just, you know, I just think they're different granularities, that's all, you know. So and I often think about user needs as being thinking about it like a story, like you know, the person who the person in the OSPO needs to evaluate this, so they do this, so therefore they use this kind of tool, you know, whereas the use case is more like granular in nature. But I think they're used in different ways depending on.
Well, I'd say
project.
that, you know, we can sort of say, hey, this person in the OSPO needs to look at this type of tool, or needs to look, instead of saying look at this type of tool, it needs to look at this type of SBOM data. It just happens to be presented by a tool.
Yeah.
And if we can take it to what type of data we're looking for across the supply chain, what's key for them to do their job, then we can sort of map, I think, these things in. But articulating that there's tools in there, yeah, we can start looking at that, because there are. But it's just that way we don't have to put names on types of tools at this point. We can keep it abstract enough to be useful for a variety of spaces.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention is that from a sneak perspective, we're happy to add value, add time and energy into this work. Yeah.
Welcome it.
Let's
keep going then. Okay, Daniel, you've had your hand up politely.
Yeah, sorry, I'm my first time joining these meetings, so I've been just doing more listening than anything else here. But just Dan kind of made me to the punch there. But in terms of the user needs or kind of user stories is another way of framing it. Like, this is something that like me and my team have been doing for the past year or so, specific around SBOM. So I wish we had something documented that we could copy and paste, but we've been talking about this a lot. And so in any event that we can help flesh this stuff out, because I think we've clearly articulated internally like 3 or 4 key example users, what their workflows are, what their needs are, what tools they use, what the gaps are. I think a lot of that knowledge has, you know, started to consolidate in certain places, and there's some good coverage of it on certain websites. So just offering my hand to help support kind of fleshing this stuff out, so we can.
I would welcome all cut and paste you think that filled into this category that you want to put in the document. I think cool. Please go in and start typing. And then
so is there a link to this document in the chat that I missed already?
I
think I have all the other ones, but I don't think I have the use cases doc.
Okay, I'm putting it in the chat right now for everyone. Some people have found it, so I think we're good.
Hey,
but yeah,
are you also able to share the diagrams that you're proposing?
Sure.
Or is that? Yeah, that'd be great.
Yep, and so suggestions are very welcome there, and you know, people with graphic artist skills who want to improve things, go for it. But I'm putting a link in there and just ask for perms. If I don't have it open right up now, can't remember if I opened it or not before the doc this. I think I'll just open it right now.
Thank you.
Think about it for comments. And so that's kind of help. So just slow laptop right now. Needs a reboot. Just a second. Anyone with the link? Just to keep it under control a little bit, I'll put it as comments for now. But as soon as people start editing and becoming a regular on the thing, they get the perms. Okay. So I'm seeing people already going into this document. Perfect. Thanks, Sarah. Appreciate that. Making sure the cases you care about are there. Okay. So user need perspective, compliance perspective, any other perspectives we want to add in here while we're talking? We've heard from Matt, and Sarah. Go ahead.
I'm just as the structure of this document, maybe it's because it's been so collectively edited. I don't see the relationship between the type of SBOM and the use cases. Is that something that we're going to need to flesh out, or is there just something that I'm missing? Because they seem to be two great tastes that are probably served on different tables in different restaurants.
So the use cases need types of SBOMs to satisfy the information they're looking for.
I may not track that.
Okay, so I would say that a build time SBOM, for instance, may decide to refer to the source SBOMs. So when you're doing your high assurance use cases for safety, you want to make sure you actually know exactly which pieces of source made it in. So you want to be able to link back to the source files. You may not need that in a lot of cases, but you may want that for basically safety certifications.
So, okay, no, I think I follow, which is there, we need to be explicit about the steps, which is I want provenance. I can't get provenance at this stage. Therefore, I need to either go to an SBOM or go to other sources of data to verify the build, because a build process can document that in other mechanisms. And so I think and we can, yeah.
That's how I'm sort of seeing it. I think we're lining up here.
I do, but I think if we lock that into the type of SBOM, that's going to confuse people, especially as we get into GRC, where there isn't any current consideration for that. And I think we've got a lot of work to do to take the type thing and put it into the both government and non-government GRC world.
Okay, well, I would completely agree with you, but let's at least we can start to deconflict and then talk about the use cases in terms of what data people are looking for to satisfy the use cases. And if we are using the types as a proxy, that's better than using a tool as a proxy.
Okay, thank you. That's a great way of helping me understand it. I appreciate that.
Because if we use a tool as a proxy, then we get into favorite tools and we get into the tool argument. We don't need to go there in this place. That's for the landscape work. Okay. Anyone else have thoughts or questions or suggestions? Well, I love the fact that people are going in and editing right now. I think it's awesome. And if people want to have a separate meeting to talk about this between now and the next meeting, just basically put your name in the chat and I'll try to see if we can find a time for a group of us to meet and see if we can flesh this out and restructure, make sure we've got a structure to then do group review on. Okay, so Dan's volunteering. Thank you, Dan.
I would love to help Kate, but I'm on spring break, so like.
I know you're on spring break, but it's okay. It's okay, Josh. We'll pull you into
another
another
rabbit hole. You can just keep in mind my my surly comments as you work on it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Also,
and
I
similarly,
think Sarah
yeah,
looks
and
like she's
similarly,
being short too.
yeah, this
Yep.
week I'm going to be on travel, but I will want to be a little more active
Of course.
once I can come back.
No, think about it now, and like I say, I'll try to set something up for next week. And I'll avoid, the TSC meeting or the TAC meeting, I guess in this case here, but I'll try to find a spot maybe that works for, Dan and Sarah and Alan. Okay, sure. Then
Ju-
let's
ju-
try to get that going.
So a broader note, Kate, several of these I don't think are use cases. They're like roles and other things, but I don't
Yeah.
particularly want to kill the brainstorming because I think getting the ideas down first is often helpful, and then working that, okay, organizing it so that this is this and that may be the better approach anyway.
Well, what we'll try to do is we'll take this and we'll try to put a structure. We'll leave the brainstorming as is so people can refer back to it. What I found has been reasonably effective is to set up a separate document and put the structure in, and at the top of this document, put the link to the structured document so that we can, not lose the commentary and input, but we can put more of a structure so we can evolve from it. And Daniel's basically saying use cases start with people and roles. So anything you want to put in here, Daniel, go for it. And if you want to be part of a meeting between now and the next one, let me know. Just
I've been actively typing away. No worries, Kate.
I know, that's awesome. So okay. Do you want me to reach out to you though to meet as a smaller group between or not?
Sure, feel free to reach out.
Okay. And I'll reach out to you, Alan, as well. And Alan wants to help with the Zoom out. Excellent. That'd be good. Okay. Then I think we've got it, and David Wheeler says he's interested too. So I think we've got a working group now to continue to flesh this out, move it forward between meetings. And I think that accomplishes what I was hoping to accomplish. I'm just wondering, I think, Matt, you commented initially, did you want to be part of this at all or not? Or
I'll
between
say yes, pending calendar conflicts.
Well, I won't, like I say, I think we'll try to quickly do a doodle and see who's there. And then we'll try to build up from that, okay? And get the maximum and know that we'll all be back here again as well. Okay. And with that, I think I'm going to turn it back over to you, Josh, because it sounds like we've got a plan. And
Yeah, I think we're in great shape. I'd say rather than chat about anything else, let's all take off and if everyone could spend 10 minutes looking through this and working on it, that'd be a good use of time, I think. Thank you, Kate. That was lovely.
Thank you. Okay then.
All right, I'll see you all in
2 weeks' time.
a couple weeks.
Yep.
Bye.
Some of you between now and then. Bye.